I don't know if you can relate to this, but you ever like spend a lot of time, get something working,
Yep.
and it works fine.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But you're like, I'm just gonna do this again.
Exactly. It's like build it up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna completely take it apart and just do it all again.
Exactly.
To just to generate the same result. I just feel like I'm perpetually in this state of finding distractions to keep my mind busy.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I know that.
Perhaps that's like a side effect of like sobriety or something.
Sure.
Recent sobriety, where it's like,
well, I can do this again.
Yeah, it's like, if
I can tweak this.
Sure, I'm not gonna go to like dancing gnome again. So I guess I'll just rebuild the studio.
Exactly, and I'll clean anything over and over again.
Which hey, shout outs to Dancing Gnome.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah.
Make some NA stuff for me.
Brian needs it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. At the top of the podcast, I'm already working on brand deals. If you want to make a Start the Beat NA IPA,
we know a guy.
Yeah. just let me know.
Exactly. That's great.
Let me know.
Sure.
Man. Hi.
Hey. Hi, Brian.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going
so,
on this Sunday.
I know that we have like this really good rapport, and a lot of people watching this might be like, "Oh, wow, I didn't know that those two schmucks knew each other."
Right.
And we don't.
We don't really.
To be completely honest, we've said hi like one or two times in passing.
Yep. I have your phone number.
Yeah, we have each other's phone number now, cool. And you're here, but we're gonna get to know each other.
Totally.
And I'm gonna start at like the fundamentals here in terms of like, hey, what do you prefer to be called? You have like 1,000 different names and aliases. As somebody that I can relate, a lot of people call me Syke. Some people call me Brian.
Totally.
Whatever.
What do you prefer?
Brian's fine.
I like Brian.
I'm in my like, mid to late 30s. The nickname thing doesn't really need to exist anymore. But unfortunately, I still perform, and I was given a god awfully common name.
Right.
As I'm sure you can relate with. So Brian.
Brian.
It's a very
which
common
is
name.
Great. Yeah.
Yes. It's a good name.
Yeah.
There's worse names.
Totally.
I've heard Brian is getting like to become rare. Not many people are naming people Brian anymore.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Yes, it's going to be like the next like Jebediah or something.
You're enjoying the Mormons,
Yes.
Soaking.
Yeah. Yes.
Michael works, that's my name. Yeah. It's like, in high school that people call me Mike. And then I was like, well, my dad's name's Mike. And then I had to graduate from that. So I was like, I think the whole name with 2 syllables is fitting,
Yeah.
But, Dini, I get called Dini and Daddy. And I'm like, okay, that works too, I guess, But yeah, I like Michael.
So it is Dini.
So my last name is Palladini.
Yes.
So that's where the Dini Daddy thing came from.
Rock and roll.
So my bandmate, Lukey, that's where I guess I have a pretty strange way of eating food, and he called it the Dini Daddy diet before I started DJing, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just roll with this.
Yeah.
He caught me dipping a banana in hot sauce, and he's like, this is just, we're gonna put it in the book.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Your boy's on that spicy potassium.
I'm fainting, Brian.
So I know that you are a musician. You do play in a band.
Yep.
You play in different places in space.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. And I believe you play the bass guitar.
Yes. Yeah.
The Thunder Down Under.
Yeah, exactly.
You got the rhythm in your soul.
I'm trying.
Let's start there.
Okay.
Since that probably came, as you said already. You told me.
Yes.
You gave me the cheat code, the spoiler.
Yep, the spoiler. Exactly.
You were playing in bands before doing DJ.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that started. So my bandmate and I, we lived in LA for a couple years back in like 2011 and 12. And we weren't even in a band then, but he was my friend, Dan Ruffalo. And I hit him up one day. I'm like, hey, do you need a roommate? And I went out there, and he's like, sure. And then I went out there and just lived there for like 2 years. And then we started a band, and then we had like, I don't know, it was a band thing for a couple years. And then he moved back here in like 2016. And then we really formed a band with 4 members. And then since then we've had a couple different members, but in the past 4 years, we've had the 4 same people. So yeah, so it's been like the same group, and we've just been, we released an album, pressed it on vinyl, which was like one of my major checklists in life. So
hell yeah.
So I can die happy now. But now it's like, okay, now we're gonna record another album and just keep going with that. So like I love DJing so much, but playing music live is like the realest thing to me.
Absolutely.
And granted, I look at band shows as like events and DJ gigs as gigs, but I love DJing too. But it's like the gigs are gigs and the events are more events. So it's like,
yeah,
you get it.
Totally. Like, I'm in a very similar position to you, where my main thing is playing in band and making music and stuff like that. But the DJing thing is a really easy way for me to be social, and to like interact with the community in a way where I'm not forced to just be too vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Which is weird, which
totally.
is like, it's like, it's kind of the same thing with this fucking podcast.
Right.
It's like, God forbid I ever ask somebody just to hang out.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm going to overcomplicate this.
Exactly.
Like, no, let's set up some microphones and cameras.
Exactly. Put some light on it.
Or like, no, like, I'm not gonna ask somebody to go to the bar, but I will be like, oh, hey, come see me DJ.
Exactly.
And then, in my social anxieties and awkwardness, I can kind of just hide behind and be like, oh, I'm just busy figuring out what song I want to play. I'm not dealing with
that. Absolutely. People come up to you and they'll be like, oh, because I try to balance that where it's like, okay, am I engaging with my friends that have come out to see me DJ, but mixed with also like, okay, am I doing a good job DJing? So I've like fought that over the past year or so. Be like, am I doing a good job of both? Am I like hang out with my friends, but am I also like doing what I'm here to do to get paid? It's just like you have to balance that for sure.
Yeah,
it's a thing.
And also, if you are fortunate enough to get into that position where you're DJing stuff and like it's not just your friends showing up, but now there's people that you don't know that are like, hey, I like your event that you do.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, now this has transcended me and my friends' expectations.
For sure. Absolutely. I totally believe that. And it's like these people come out that you don't really know, but they're here to see you play some music that you love. And the music you love, they're here to see. And it's like, okay, well, my friends that I've known for so long are here and they're just sitting in a corner. I mean, not that they can't hold their own, but it's like you want to be present for them too, So it's like, but it is good if you have like, everybody has some social anxiety, and it's like, okay, if I'm behind the decks like looking for records and somebody comes up to you, you can just say hey and be like, I'm doing this now, that works out.
Yeah, it's the amount of people that like will come out and see me. I'm like so thankful.
Absolutely.
But then it's just like, okay, like I am like working
for
not to make this dramatic, but it's like I can't like.
You got to be present on both sides.
Yes.
And like, that's with some social anxiety, that's good for all the whole picture, because you can engage with your friends and be like, hey guys, I got to go pick it. I can tell by the sound that this track's gonna end, and I got to pick another record, which is great, but it is like, am I giving enough to my friends that are coming out? It's like, I think so. People tell me that I do a good job of that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's a balance.
Maybe me and you both just put too much pressure on ourselves.
I think that's exactly it, for sure. And it's like, just people are there to embrace the moment. And it's like, if they're here to see the music, they're going to hear the music. And if they're here to see you, you're going to make some time for them. And it's like, that's whatever,
Yeah. So your journey getting into DJing from playing in a band, where did you start? Why did you start?
So in the summer of 21, I was having house parties, because that was like the summer after, we were allowed to do stuff. And I was having some house parties that were getting, for lack of a better term, insane, but in a good way, but I was just spinning records, and my friends would come up to me like, hey, like you should DJ because you have these records, I've said it before, like my friend Ron Coleman, Ari Cole, he's like, you should start DJing. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then I went on Sweetwater and bought the turntables and mixer. And then 2 weeks later, I had all that stuff, and I just started trying it out, and it's like, I should have probably like sat in my bedroom and like tried to mix some records, but I just got a gig for a First Friday in September of 21 and just started doing it. And that's kind of like, just kept going from there.
Yeah.
So, which is really good. I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome. And
awesome.
I love how similar our stories are.
Yeah.
In terms of like, it was my buddy, Matt Very, who runs Very Tight Recordings. Whenever he got his building in Sharpsburg, he wanted to have just like a welcoming party in the basement.
Cool.
And it was the same situation where it was like, hey, you have a bunch of records.
Do you want to
come DJ?
Exactly.
And I was like, okay.
And did you have the turntables?
So I took just like my like consumer turntable that I had.
Some crows.
So I just had like one turntable and like one laptop.
Perfect.
And like not even like a DJ mixer, but like, this like a little like 2-channel like Behringer thing that I had.
Yeah.
And like you made it work. Just
played
played music.
Easy.
Nobody was expecting the world at that point.
No, for sure. But it was fine.
But it turned into that thing where it was like, then all of a sudden somebody like was like, hey, like I saw you do this thing. Would you do that at my house party? And then started doing like weird small things.
Exactly. And it's like, I know back then my mixing was probably terrible, but it's just like, I think the music help catapult me to getting gigs and stuff just because it's just different and
Yeah. I think that like I go back and forth with this mindset of like how much does like a good mix matter.
Right.
Like I think there's so much about like intention.
Right.
And like right time, right place, reading the crowd and like knowing what's going on. And like sometimes it's cool to like do like a really cool thing.
Yeah.
But the amount of times that I've like done something really cool and been like nobody even noticed.
Yeah.
Versus the amount of time that I've just like car crashed a transition and like people were mad about it.
Yeah.
It's like it's very lopsided.
Totally. And it's like it's like, well then you try it out.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, people notice mistakes more than they notice smooth things,
Yeah.
Which is just life, I guess.
Yeah.
People love to be critics, which is fine.
Totally.
It makes you better,
Yeah.
You gotta stumble before you can walk, And I think that's just how it is,
Yeah. There's something about like sometimes too, I feel this way about musicians and it bleeds into DJs. I guess just performance in general.
Totally.
Where if something is like too good, it turns me off.
I get it. It's too polished.
Yeah. Like there's some people that do some nights in the city that are really good at what they do, and I've seen them do their thing.
It's great.
And it's like it's like what is happening?
Exactly. It's just too good. It's just or not so good, but it's like it's too like
it's like too much.
Yeah, too much mixed with like you're losing the feel of it maybe.
Yeah.
It's like they're just kind of like I don't know, with like laptops and stuff, they can just sync stuff together. But I finally bought a computer recently, and it's like, I don't know how to DJ on it at all, but it's just like, yeah. I respect people that do only digital stuff, but I just like don't understand it, honestly. I feel like there's too many buttons involved, And that's fine, it's cool, but it's like all I know is just like 2 turntables and a mixer, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It works.
I do both. I do a lot of events that are digital focused and then some stuff that's turntable focused as well. But I operate both of those worlds pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But with the digital stuff, you can get a little bit goofier.
Right.
Which is fine because sometimes I'm spinning music that is like, a lot of it may not even be available on vinyl anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also a style of music that kind of caters to that.
For sure.
That flexibility to have some fun.
Or it's like one of those records that you want to get is over $100. And it's like, okay, I'm not doing that for 6 minutes of a song I want. It's like, it's not worth it, So that's why I have a little, I wouldn't say call it envy, but it's like I respect people that are doing the digital stuff because they can get those tracks. Like it's so readily available instead of me like having something shipped from Germany for over $100.
Yeah. The only thing that's a bummer about that though, is it really changes the expectation of people that want to make requests for things and all that stuff.
Time.
Which, like I am very much the type of person where it's like, if you're here and you got, especially if you make a request and you got you're a gaggle full of people that are dancing.
Right.
Sure. What do you want to hear? Let's keep the energy going.
Totally.
But also like sometimes like you let somebody make one request and all of a sudden you're Alexa.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, fuck.
It's like, it's not, that happens to me and I'll be like, hey, do you have this song? And I'll be like, I'll just point to my bags of records. And that like, you can see that kind of face of like, oh, well, I don't understand, but now I understand of like, okay, this guy probably doesn't have anything that I'm looking for, And it's like, no, I don't have any Taylor Swift records. Sorry.
I've done I have kind of like a little cheat code trick that I've like wired into my turntable setup where I use the aux input of channel 1 and I have a Bluetooth connector to it.
Cool.
So I could just stream something off my phone if somebody wants to hear it.
That's really nice.
And it's also really good in a situation where it's like, oh, if I want to like clean my needles or just do any, I could just like just take like 5 minutes, do a little reset, the music's still going.
On your phone. Absolutely. Because I have like a I'll take sometimes out of my channel like the line and I'll run my phone into it, you know, the RCA into the aux cord. And it's like, you know, I do that for like weddings and stuff that people want to hear specific songs because I'm not going to go out and buy these certain records that I'll never listen to, you know? And it's like, it's like, sure, this quality is different, but it's like, it works, you know? Yeah. It's fine.
People just want to hear the song.
Totally. And it's like, it's not like that's my thing when I go spin out, you know? It's like, I'm not like, gonna spend 20 minutes of songs just for my phone. It's just like it's more a specific event or something that somebody wants to hear that track. I'm like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like for me, it's just I want anybody that's bothering to come out to one of my events. You know what I mean? It's like
totally.
You know, hey, like if I'm, you know, it depends on the event, but like if I'm doing like an 80s metal night at Poetry, it's like I'm lucky if there's 20 people there.
Absolutely.
So if 2 people want to hear something, which equals like, you know, whatever the math is there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's worth it.
Let's make them happy.
For sure. I'm totally with you on that. And it's like, it's like you got to swallow your pride a little bit. Sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it. It's like, you know, sometimes there's stuff that isn't like on vinyl, that's not pressed to vinyl. So like I have a little bit of more I feel a little better about doing stuff like that because it's like, okay, it doesn't even exist on vinyl, so I can play this on my phone and not really feel bad about it.
Totally.
You know, it's like, it's fine.
With DJing now and getting to do stuff in a lot of different types of spaces where you probably typically wouldn't be able to play in a band.
Right. Absolutely.
Do you find yourself like having like a different preference or a different mindset about like playing in a band versus DJing, or are you able to like keep them separate?
I keep them pretty separate, honestly. Yeah. Cause it's like, I look at it as like, okay, I feel like I look at it like totally differently, honestly. Cause it's even just from the crowd to just like, you know, what the energy of the room is. It's just like, I find it just like opposites, honestly, you know, which is great, you know, but it's like, it's, that's a great question, Brian, because it's, I see how people, I mean, at shows nowadays, how many, you know, it's like, are people really dancing, you know, or are they just kind of standing there and just like, I mean, not that they're not enjoying it, but it's just like that. I feel like a DJ event, there's going to be more chance, the odds are better if people are going to be dancing and feeling the moment compared, not that they're not feeling the moment at a band show, but they're more just like, it's soaking everything up, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's how I can like kind of separate the two.
Yeah. The energy levels are so different between different crowds in ways that like sometimes you wouldn't even expect. Where, you know, I went from I play in a heavy metal band called Grey Walker.
Okay.
And we're very loud and very fast and a lot of energy. That's our thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of the time now when we play, because we don't really play stuff that caters to like kids that are 20, you know what I mean? We're older. We make music for older people, not that younger people can't listen to it. It just is what it is.
Right.
You know,
not they want to appreciate it.
We're not, we're not trending. No, you know what I mean? That's fine.
You're not influencing.
But, you know, like people come out and they like, you know, you can tell sometimes there's a little bit of a mosh pit or something, but you know, I'll be looking out in the crowd and it's like, what's going on? But then we'll sell a bunch of shit after the show. And people like, it was fucking awesome. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
And then like you contrast that with like, oh, like I'm DJing some like Taylor Swift party. And it's like, these are the most feral people I've ever been in a room with in my life.
Totally.
Like they have the energy of like this one show has that like the energy of every single show that my metal band has played combined and then some.
Exactly.
Because they're just like
just pumped up,
ready to go and move and just get into it.
Absolutely. Feral and fertile.
I love being in that kind of energy, like a dance party energy.
It's amazing how much more energy you'll expend playing in a band, like compared to just sitting there and like spinning some records, you know. And it's like, I mean, how many times I've double booked myself where I'll play in the band and then that night I'll spin some records and I'll be like, holy shit, I'm like exhausted.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, well, because I'm just like, you just give all your heart on a show where people are just looking at you. It's not that they're not enjoying it, and then you go to a show where you're DJing and people are just like going buck wild.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's just how it is, I guess.
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Me and Grace were doing an event there that
Okay.
we were supposed to do together,
I see.
but then ended up getting that show.
Okay.
So, you know, she
You were
started
double
it
booked.
off.
Yep,
And
exactly.
then,
You
like,
came
you know, I
rolling
went
in.
and then just
Yep.
spun a little bit
Right.
during like the last hour.
Yep.
But it was still, and then at the end of the night,
It
it's
was
like,
just like,
this is
what the hell?
crazy.
I agree.
And it's cool to have that opportunity to go from like, you know, this like kind of like metal punk sort of thing, drive across town.
Right.
Now I'm at this weird like Euro dance event
Exactly.
with a whole other group of people having fun in their own way.
Yeah, for sure. And it just takes like you're amazed by how much like, wow, I'm spent, you know, I'm burnt out after today. And it's just like you're not even using that much energy. I think it's the focus aspect of like DJing, because it's like your attention to detail is just so narrowed in, you know?
That's
and
like
it's like
I know that there's always those like memes about like the what do DJs even do type thing, and it's like, sure, it probably seems like somebody's just like staring at like a deck or a laptop, but it's like the mental gymnastics of like,
you're jumping through
like
hoops.
you're trying to figure out, like, you know, not to make it too dramatic, but like, it's like an equation
for sure.
of sorts.
Absolutely.
Of just like, okay, like I'm trying to
you're reading the
listen
room.
to this,
Yeah.
reading the room, trying to figure out like, am I gonna pick this up? Is it gonna slow down? Like, am I trying to stay on tempo? What's gonna work here?
Do
And
you keep it up here, or do you want to try to kind of ride it out? Because that's what I try to like when I'm doing an event. I'm trying to kind of ride the wave of going, you know, fast, slow, and try to ride that, like, you know, not like take it so high and then drop it low, but just kind of, because I'm getting like a little tired of going to events where it's just like always up here. It's just like peaking, and it's just like sometimes you'll go to those events and like after an hour, people are just like kind of looking around, being like, okay, now what, you know? And it's just like you want to have like, you kind of want to like flow it all together almost, you know? And that's what I try to do. I try to take it up and down. It's like, yeah, it's like, sure, the BPMs are changing, but it's like, are you keeping people engaged? You know, that's like, that's my big thing. But if people are dancing on the dance floor, it's like, okay, keep it there, you know? But it's like, if people are just kind of hanging out, it's like, you can slow it down. Like, don't be shy, you know? And that's what I try to tell myself. And it's like, sure, it's like, you gotta, do I want to play slow records all night? No. But do I want to play fast records all night? Not really either. So it's like, how can you mix that all together? And that takes time and just doing it, you know?
I mean, well, there's always the undeniable and I wish it wasn't the case.
Right.
But no matter how much you prepare, no matter how many shows you've done, every show is always different.
It's always gonna be different.
And like there's just no way to know.
Yeah.
But like with experience, you do kind of get
you
a
have
handle
gist.
on things, and you start to like maybe come up with like different combinations of things that can work that you pull out at different times.
Big time.
But for me, you know, a lot of the parties that I do, I know there's like a lot of people that are coming to party. They're coming to dance their ass off. They want to drink. They want to have a good time, which is cool. But it's like, I also sometimes will intentionally be like, here's a slower song. Here's a deep cut. Here's a boring song. Drink some water. Go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Exactly. And that just, it keeps extending the night compared to just like, I'm going to blast all the bangers in their face and it's only midnight, you know?
Yeah.
You still have 2 hours to do something. And it's like, okay. I just feel like it keeps people engaged too by just like kind of going up and down, you know? I think that's important.
Yeah, I think that the roller coaster analogy rings true once again, in terms of, you know, like that first hour for me is just the incline.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
big time.
And then
take it from
let
there.
it go.
Exactly.
But if the whole ride's all loop-de-doops, people are gonna get sick.
Yeah,
they're gonna black out before the ride's done.
Absolutely. And it's not, the night's not even halfway over yet.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And it's like, do you want to be peaking and clipping all night too? It's like, I don't think so. So that's why it's just like, you gotta just feel the room, you know? Yeah, that was so much. That's so much. And it's like, is it that deep? maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think that it's fun because like I like going to events now and seeing other people spin because I could tell like, are you spinning for yourself or are you spinning for the room? And there's nothing wrong with either of those things.
Right.
I mean, there are people that actually go out to see DJs. They don't go to dance parties.
Right.
I very rarely, if I put my name on a flyer, it's very small. It's in the corner because the event's not about me. It's about the theme.
The event. Exactly.
Right. But there's other people that have the flip of that. And that's a world that I don't really understand.
Right.
To be honest.
Right.
But hey,
you're trying it. You know, you're putting your feet out there, you know, you're just like, okay, I'll try it out. And it's like, if you're having those events maybe a couple times a year, you're going to know what people want to expect, you know, or like what people are feeling and like what people are going there to hear. You know? And that's like, I feel like that's like, you don't know that until you're have a couple of those under your belt.
So if there was like, you know, the Dini Daddy headlining event, what do you think people would come expecting to hear?
Probably funk music.
Yeah.
Funk and disco. Yeah. And I feel like, that is kind of like the foundation of what I do. And I mean, I am obsessed with the band Krungbin, but it's like, I think the more I've been spinning, the more I've been kind of getting away from that because it is kind of like melodic, chill music, you know? And it's like, I was doing that for a while, just playing a lot of that music. And I was like, okay, I'll get away from that. But funk and disco and some house music. I've been getting more into like the disco house stuff recently. And it's like finding YouTube channels of people just uploading singles and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, I'll pull stuff from there and then find it online and get it some pressings of it. So yeah, but funk and disco is kind of like the foundation of the Dini Daddy, which is, you know, hey, I'll take it, I guess. It's like,
with you know, playing in bands and DJing a lot and getting more and more exposed to this world, have you actually found yourself engaging with any music that you didn't engage with prior to DJing?
Yeah, I would say house music, honestly. But like house music that's like not, it has samples of instruments because there's a lot of house music that it sounds
like a
too
computer.
Exactly. And if it doesn't have any real instruments sampled in it, it just gets too, I get a little glitched out and feel like I'm like a robot sometimes.
Sure.
And that's kind of one thing that I'm like, I'll listen to something and if it's like, it is housey, but it's like, it leans too much into techno or something. I just like, I can't relate to it. It doesn't seem like tangible to me and it doesn't like hit me. It doesn't ring in my ears how I would like to spin it out in the world, I guess you could say. Yeah. So it's like, some house music with some like disco flair on it is kind of like the past year or two I've been getting into, which is, you know, it's cool.
Yeah. And that like funk disco world that you exist in as a DJ, is that something that has been like a part of your musical DNA prior?
Yeah. Funk in particular, for sure. And I've always liked disco, but I've leaned way hard into it and kind of gone digging for disco stuff. But funk has been like, my dad had a friend growing up. My dad was in bands and he still plays music, but my dad had a friend, Mark Reiser, rest in peace. He just had to get some Chinese fentanyl that was FDA approved, not unapproved, you know, legal. And he had to he did it, overdosed, was brought back, buried it in his yard. And then a month later, dug it up, did it and died. But he was just like, you know, he was showing me Bootsy Collins and George Clinton when I was like 6, 7 years old. And he played bass and it's just like, he's the one that like pushed me. He showed me all that funk stuff, like the deep funk stuff that is just like, you know, Bootsy Collins is like rubber band, all that stuff, and like his solo stuff. And that's how I got really into the funk. And it's just like followed me around forever. And I can't get away from it now. So
yeah.
R.I.P. Mark Reiser.
R.I.P.
Well, God, what a legend.
Now I understand why you're a bass player.
Yeah, for sure. We once went to, in 2016, we went to, the both of us ate some mushrooms. He's like in his 50s at the time. And we went to see Bootsy Collins at Heartwood Acres. And I lose him. And then I go to the front and he's like just sweating like a madman. And the county cops opened the gate and him and I both like helped Bootsy Collins out into the crowd. And I like kissed him on the cheek. And I was like, okay, I've peaked. He was the man, but yeah. But that Mark Reiser is the man that got me into the funk, and it just has pushed me all the way through. So yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think that's maybe why I've had some successes, because like I've like known some deep funk from the get-go, and I have those records, compared to just like playing like Flashlight by, George Clinton in Parliament. It's like I've been lucky enough to always like that music, and it just like has kind of pushed me through to here now.
Sure.
So it's like I'm not like, okay, people like funk now, what funk can I find? It's like I've had those records, and it's just been like, okay, now I can show them, I can show people how much I enjoy these records, and hopefully they will too,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, if you have like an understanding of something that's like in your DNA, where like, you can play a song front to back in your head
And you like
without
know it.
even needing it. I mean, that makes it a lot easier, especially on the vinyl side of things,
Totally.
because
Big time.
when stuff is ending and
Yes.
things like that. And
Crucial.
it's,
I totally agree.
with the digital stuff, especially on my side of things, where, I've gotten into this world where I'm doing a lot of themed events, and sometimes like I'm just getting asked to like hop onto something, and I'm like, I have a very baseline understanding of what this is.
Totally.
So like I'm going off of like tempo, key, looking at the screen,
absolutely,
hoping for the best.
Yep. And I get that for sure. And there's events where I'll be asked to spin certain records that I do have, but do I listen to those at home? Not really.
Sure.
I mean, I got them, but it's like yeah, that's that is so important. I totally agree. It's like, okay, I'm gonna try this, and it's like, ooh, like what? It could be 2 minutes of the end of a track that is just like just a drum set going, and it's like, okay, I forgot about that, but I guess I got to get myself out of this now, and it's like, I think knowing the music is like super. That's like number one, and it's like, okay, you get asked to do an event, and you're like, okay, I think I can do this. I could definitely take the $200,
Sure.
It's like,
for me, it's like the most important thing nowadays. Like if I'm getting asked to do something in that realm, I'm more concerned about like what is the demographic gonna be, and not necessarily what kind of music am I spinning.
Absolutely.
Because for me, like regardless of genre, and this sounds like some fucking like ethereal bougie woo-woo shit, but I feel like all music is the same. I don't care what the genre is. It's it's rhythm, chord, melody, things are happening, and like, but it's like, okay, what kind of people does this music attract? Because that's gonna really dictate the vibe that's going on here,
big time, and that's so important.
And like, there's just some demographics of people. Everyone's beautiful in their own way, but there's some demographics of people that I do not want to play music for, because I just don't want to be in a room with those people.
And it could get kind of ugly. It could get like
they don't want me there. I don't want to be there. Exactly. I'm not the person for the job.
And it's like, you want me to spin this stuff? I can try, but I know I will not do a good job. And it's like, I will probably say no if I can, because I need to work on that. And it's like,
so I mean, I've noticed, on the internet, my friend, that you seem to be pretty busy, keeping yourself out there, toes in the water
consistently.
You feeling pruny at all?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like, I say, people invite me to do. I'm lucky enough that I don't really go out seeking events. I'll just get asked to do events, and I'm so grateful for that. But sometimes people ask me to do things, and I'm just like, yes. But then I do it, and it takes 4 hours of my day, and I'm like, this was a bust. Not that I did a bad job, or maybe I did, but just like the turnout mixed with like what they want to hear, and it's just like, I think in the past couple months I've gotten better at being like, I can't do that, and that takes a lot for me. So I'm like trying to get better at that.
Yeah,
not the people pleasing aspect, but more like, oh, I've got invited to do this. They respect me. I should do this because I'm honored that they asked me, and then I'll do it, and I'm like, this is 6 hours of my life that I could easily have not been doing anything else. And that's okay.
It's hard because, like, in my experience being in showbiz, there's been plenty of times where I've said yes to things that, like, in the moment felt like very worthless opportunities. But
once it happens, once you get there.
But in hindsight, it's like, oh, like, I met somebody at that event that ended up getting me this other thing.
Exactly.
Or, you know, like you never know
And that's how
what's going to happen.
Brian,
so the best thing is just to constantly be in there.
Exactly. You said it, man, because I think that in the back of my head when I'm like reluctant and I'll read those messages and I'll be like, I don't want to do this. But in the back of my head, it's like, who knows who's going to be there, you know? My future ex-wife? I don't know, you know?
Yeah.
Potentially. Prenup.
Yeah.
No, but I agree. It's like, I'll do it. I usually say yes, but now that we've been doing it so long, I'm like, okay, I think I can get a gist of like, is this going to be good? Or it's like, these events that are happening, somebody will start an event. I'm like, I love being like the guinea pig to start your event. And then it's like, you know, you do that a couple times. And then by the third or fourth time, it's just like, is this worth it? It's like, sometimes yes, sometimes no, you know? And it's like, that's kind of what I've been like trying to gauge in the past like couple months. So it's like, is it okay to do that? I guess so. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that you know, listen to your heart, I guess.
Totally.
Trust your intuition.
Yeah.
There's the concept that when it comes to creativity, that generally your first idea is your best idea.
Right.
If you really trust your intuition.
Absolutely.
I've spent a lot of time ignoring that, overthinking things, over engineering things, doing way more than I have to.
Just
when it's just like I had it at the start,
right?
You know, so I mean, I think that if you ever get the feeling of just like I don't know if this is like really it,
right?
It's probably not.
It's probably not.
And you know what? Like there may be an opportunity that you might miss.
Yeah.
Maybe there is somebody at that party that you know that could have changed your life,
right?
But you know what? You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So
it's like whatever. You can't harp on that.
Yeah, there isn't like just like one defining moment that's gonna change your life.
And usually that happens when you're not thinking about it and you just go and do this event and it's just like, oh, well, you want me to do your wedding in next year and you want to pay me X amount of dollars? I wasn't expecting that, you know? And it's like, you can't walk into an event like that just has to be just happening. You know, you can't think about that. You just have to go and just do it. You know, it's like, but how many times are you going to do it? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just like whatever's right for you. You know, I went through the rabbit hole of like starting house parties. Then I started to do like events at different places, you know, Spirit, Brillo Box, other little bars and things like that.
Right.
And then I got asked to do some weddings. I've done a couple weddings.
Yeah.
And, you know, then there was just one point where somebody asked me to DJ a wedding and I was like, no,
I can't.
I don't need to do this.
No.
I was on the 3 Caballeros ride in Epcot at Walt Disney World. On the boat.
You're like
on the boat, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I have to DJ weddings anymore.
Yeah,
and I have.
I've surpassed that.
Yes, that's the most magic that Disney has brought me was realizing that I don't have to DJ weddings anymore.
And when Disney bought Star Wars, they ruined it.
Hey, you know,
Rogue One was cool. I don't know enough about Star Wars, but
you know, I think that I don't know if it's any better or any worse than it ever was. I mean, that's
a good way to say it.
It's pop culture junk food.
Right.
How much should we analyze this?
I agree. And the fact that like, you know, they're pumping out movies now, it's like, okay, maybe there's some scenes that you'll love. And it's like, take it as that, you know, it's like,
yeah, it's just that we live in a very interesting time in terms of art being made for algorithms and not people anymore.
Totally.
And you know, for me, it's just I just am very picky and choosy about what I engage with, and a lot of the stuff that I engage with, you just have to engage with it on a very just baseline level. Right. And this is somebody that, you know, we're in a room right now that filled with action figures and video games and all this stuff, and you know, I have tattoos of Ninja Turtles. I'm up there in terms of like being like what some people may consider a dork.
Yeah,
but also
you can see in the past 10, 15 years how much things have it's just become so like fucking stimulating visually compared to like, is the plotline good? Are the characters built well? You know,
it's changed. It's not the same as it was, and that's fine.
Right.
but also it's like so much of this stuff, it's like not for me.
Yeah.
And I can engage with it in a healthy way. I'm not going to be like, people are ruining the legacy of the Ninja Turtles. Grow up, dude.
You're going to get on Reddit and be like, hey, this
people are ruining Star Wars.
How could you? It's like, I don't have the time for that. Honestly, it's like, the Ninja Turtles are cool.
Yeah.
It's like, embrace that.
Yeah.
And it's like, the action, the live action movies with Vanilla Ice and Ninja Turtles 2, that's awesome, Because his song goes dun 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 dun. Dun.
Well, that was Ice Ice Baby.
Yeah, right.
Ninja Rap.
Go Ninja Go.
Yeah,
right.
That's a much different song.
That's a much different song.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a turtle get down?
I've gotten mud from my turtle once, but I think so. Yeah, I used to have a box turtle growing up, and then I let it go. That's a good story. Yeah, I love turtles. They're great. They've been around for a while.
How much does Dini Daddy engage with like art and creativity outside of music?
I love architecture immensely. I love curved bricks and curved windows more than I think people know. Old buildings are kind of my thing. I've been trying to go, I think this next year I'm going to go to Mexico City and just like be surrounded by all that concrete architecture because I can't wait for that. I love buying art. Like, am I spending $1,200 on a piece of art? No. But am I going to Goodwills and sifting through it and going to antique shops and doing stuff like that? Yes. Do I draw? No. Do I doodle? Sure. I appreciate art so much, but it's like all music for me. It's just like I'm honed into music I think that's what it is. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's just like that's like what I just like consume and just like love it. But like movies and stuff, I don't own a television, so it's like I don't really like I can't it's not that I'm like people ask me like I cannot be a pop trivia. Like, I cannot go to trivia night because I'll be like the worst partner ever, and it's like, But I think, music.
What if it was like a funk music trivia night?
For sure. If it's music related, definitely. Like, I think I could, if the right genre, VH1 guessed that tune, I think I could bring home some money,
Yeah.
And that's like, I'm not trying to sound cool, but it's like, that's what I'm into,
Yeah.
But when it comes to like comic books, I appreciate. Do I read them? No. But I think that stuff is very fascinating. But yeah, I would say architecture and music is kind of my art outlet. But it's like I will go to art museums and love all of it and appreciate it. But it's like my brain just like does not really work like that,
Yeah.
That's okay.
With you're somebody that in this, 43 minutes and 37 seconds that we have been talking.
Already?
Yes.
Wow.
We've been talking. You're somebody.
You're a great host. Everybody give Brian a hand.
Thank you.
He's
That's really
it.
sweet. Yep. You ooze positivity. Okay.
Thank you.
And I'm really curious as somebody that has kind of like, a passive interest in like, a lot of art and culture stuff. But somebody that is consumed by music.
Right.
As you've self-described, consumed. I'm curious if there's anything in the realm of music that you are like not so positive about. Is there anything style-wise or logistics-wise or trend-wise that you are not into?
I think pop music in the past, since we'll say the Y2K scare, has just tanked. I think pop music has just gotten so horrible. And I hate to say that, and I give everything a chance, like with open arms. Like when I went and saw, who'd I see last summer? It was so awful. And I really tried, Brian, to appreciate it. See, it was so bad, I forget. They were a huge 90s band. They have the song in what's that movie with Brad Pitt, the fighting movie?
The Fight Club movie?
Fight Club movie.
Okay.
Yeah. What's that band? God, it was so bad. I had to leave. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. It wasn't Pearl Jam. Not that I like Pearl Jam, but see, it's so bad I forget, but I feel like we have to get to the bottom of this to know. Man. Well, it'll come to me.
Yeah, I don't have my. Oh wait, I do have my mobile device.
Yeah,
I can look up the Fight Club soundtrack if you would like me to.
Because that shit was bad, and they were just. It was raining, and people were just standing there, and like they were not engaging in the crowd.
So, but you consider it pop rock?
Just that show was that I could say that's not even related to pop music, but just how bad that show was, it just still haunts me to this day because it was just unbelievably how bad it was. They were just like playing for themselves and they were just ready to bounce and leave. But I feel like pop music has been engineered by the government. They're getting the hertz up to a certain level to like keep people in line, and it's just like pop music in the 90s was cool. We all love LFO, you know? It's like,
sure. It's like, well, I don't know if I would go.
Is it satanic?
I don't know if I would go like all
is that too much?
Go government conspiracy,
right.
Illuminati level.
Sometimes I think about that by how bad it's getting. You know, I'm like, this shit is insane.
I do
pop country music. Also, I'm just like, wow.
I do really think that a lot of modern music is definitely like tailored to algorithms.
I think you're right.
And like a lot of like oh okay, like what were the like, you know, people will like go look at like their like streaming data for something and be like, oh, like this music has X number of streams, so let's keep making stuff like this.
Right.
Not realizing that the reason why it has so many streams is not because people are listening to it, but because it's getting pumped on repeat in like and then like, you know, in bars and restaurants and dentists' offices, whatever. You know what I mean? Like these aren't humans that are actually listening to this.
Yes, that's
so you
real.
Can't base your data off of that.
It's like, you know, Tori Moore, Chaz Bundick. He released an album called Laws of the Universe, and it's like it's kind of poppy, like a little bit like housey, electronic-y, but he wrote that album off the algorithm of how people were listening to songs for more than a minute, and then he started writing that album. So it's like that's so real, and it's like I personally like that album. It's good, but it is definitely a different kind of style of his, but it works and it's good, and it's like it. I mean, it got him a lot of streams. He probably bought some properties in San Francisco because of that. But I mean, that was the first album I ever bought was Underneath the Pine. That was released in 2011. I mean, that stuff was psychedelic. It was a little poppy, but more just like psychedelic, ambient, eclectic stuff. And that's what like got me hooked. And he's a great artist. And like, it's funny seeing how artists like kind of change over the years, you know, not in a good or bad way, but just shift around.
Well, that's the thing I mean, there's an undeniable human element to change. That's the world. The world's always changing. You know, we're you know, we're changing beings constantly. So it's like art should change. It should develop. But again, back to like talking about intention. What is the intention behind the art? You know, I don't care how fast or loud or quiet or slow or gay or not gay, whatever. I don't care.
How does it feel?
Yeah. It's like, why are you making this art?
Totally.
In a time where, like, hey, like, if we're being real, the world needs art, but it also doesn't need any more art.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's great to have more.
For sure. But
it's like if you're going to contribute to this conversation, what are you saying, my friend?
Right. It's like, what do you, are you proud of what you're releasing? You know? Or are you just doing this just to do it and just is your label just needing something, you know, if they ask you to make a record and you're just like, oh, well, the trend is this, so I'm going to do this and people love it. And it's like, is that coming from your soul or is that just like what you're seeing on the algorithms?
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like people will base, you know, labels will base their success of an artist because like, oh, Nissan gave us $4 million to put this in a car commercial. And it's like, people aren't listening to this music that you're pumping all this money into.
I know. That's insane to think about, but that's the reality. It's like corporations have taken over.
There's all these like idiots that have way too much money and they're just funneling all this money into each other's pockets.
I agree.
To like create like subpar art for their subpar products. And normal people
just
aren't fucking
give
with
a
it.
shit. Exactly. And it's like how further TikTok. My TikTok account is the clock in my kitchen. It just ticks around and talks around. But no, I mean, it's like, there's so much, I mean, we were having this conversation of like, some friends and I about cartoons we were watching in the 90s, and it's like we were so lucky to have Nickelodeon at 5, 6 years old in 96, 97, because we were, that was like the peak of that time. That's when we were kids. And now it's like, yeah, everybody would talk about that show that next day at second or third grade. And now it's just like with the internet, there's just so much stuff to like, we can just consume stuff all day compared to like, did you see that episode with Doug when he wrote the song to Patty Mayonnaise, And now it's just like, these kids are like, what are they relating on, There's just so freaking much.
I remember a very specific moment that happened in my life, maybe about 10 years ago, somewhere in that time frame, where I was on the bus, public transportation, going into downtown to go to work. And a normal morning, but I was just sitting there and I was looking at somebody just like scrolling through their phone, just going, like not even engaging with anything.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's fucking over.
It's over.
What's totally the point of me even trying to put anything out there?
And that's like, I feel like people's attention spans are like becoming goldfish. They're just like 4 or 5 seconds. It's like,
if you're lucky,
it's like, I was on a New York subway once and I was watching this guy do the same thing, but luckily he was liking everything, So it's like people like something that we post. It's like, do they like it? Or are they just like, just supporting it, supporting.
So like, I have friends that are like that. Love them to death.
Yeah.
Thank you for, helping stimulate
Boost
my
some
algorithm.
Numbers. Exactly.
But like these same people, I'll see them at a show and they'll be like, oh, like, hey, are you still doing this? Or when's this next thing? It's like, you just like the thing.
Exactly. Did you like it or did you love it? No, you just like, you hearted it, not even knowing. And that's what I've kind of, from just DJing so much, it's like, I think the best way to do it now is like text people flyers because they have to open it and they have to, not that I expect them to come, but it's like, it feels a little more personal than me just being like, how many people like it? And then they'll like it and then they'll be like, oh, you were here tonight? I was like, yeah, you like that friggin' post. It's just so wild how like, it's like how reliant we are on Instagram, and it's just
like, listen to like what we just said.
Yeah.
Where it's like
insane.
People were getting fed so much information. So it's like, sure, maybe they did see that.
Right. But
they remembered in that moment, they knew it was happening.
Right.
But think about how many other things their brain has interfaced with in that in between.
I totally agree.
Like thousands of things.
Thousands. And even if somebody that likes it only follows a couple hundred people on Instagram, it's just still just like they're just inundated with like visual stimulation.
And all the ads.
Yeah, my boy Danny got hooked with like the little camera that Instagram like is pushing right now, and he bought it and we're like, yeah, Instagram actually got you here, but this thing's cool. But it's like, how much dumb shit is out there? Like, I've never bought anything off Temu, but I kind of want to see if I can get like a pillow that's actually like the size of Donald Trump's Band-Aid on his ear. It's like that could be a thing, but it's just like we're over inundated with all that stuff. And it's like, is it just gonna always be like that now? Maybe. I guess so. Something gives.
I don't know how you, this sounds so fatalist, but I don't know how you come back from it.
I agree.
Like, that the door's been opened.
Like
Pandora's box.
Open.
Whatever
Exactly.
whatever. And it's like, and the snakes are loose.
They're everywhere. Snakes on a plane. For real.
What the fuck do we do?
What do we do? That was like, my Instagram got hacked in like the end of 2022, early 23. And now it was just like, this is so fucked up because it's like, this is like I'm still me and I still have these gigs and I'm not like, it's not like I've like lost what I'm doing, but at the same point in time, I was like crippled by it. And I was like, this guy hit me up. He's like, yeah, I hacked your Instagram. It's going to be $500. And part of me was like, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Part of me was like, do I pay this guy from friggin' Indonesia do I pay him $500? And I was like, whoa. I had to sit down and like step back and be like, no, this guy's going to take my money. And I don't know who this man is. And it's like, he's not going to give me my account back. So I had to like rebuild the brand. And it's just so crazy because it's like, that is so unrelated to the music, but that is like how we operate. And it's like, how many followers does this DJ have is what is going to get you booked compared to what the music actually is. which I think is like fucked up. But that's how it is.
Well, that's another fucking issue. Yeah. I mean, that goes for the DJ stuff and the band stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
totally.
I get a lot of emails because my email for the podcast somehow got put onto some PR list that's probably been sold and traded between a bunch of different booking people.
A lot of hands passed through.
So a lot of people, I get a lot of press kits emailed to me.
I see. Okay.
And, you know, I don't do live show coverage. I'm not, you know.
That seems like so much work.
And even the few times that I've like gotten like by some has, you know, this many YouTube streams, this many Spotify streams, this many followers.
This can help you.
And it's just like, okay, like this isn't telling me anything about what the band does. It's just everything is numbers. And like with all the like with playing in band, getting on festivals and stuff like that, like, you know, it's all a number game because like people don't have the time to actually curate anything.
Exactly.
So they're just like, oh, this band looks popular, so I guess they're good.
We're gonna try this.
But you know, spoiler alert. Yeah, you can game the numbers.
Yes,
you know, you can't fake talent, but you can fake the numbers
for sure.
And that's another part of the reason why I think a lot of like saying culture is dying is like so dramatic. But like there is a lot of just like bullshit
for sure.
You know, if we get out of the big picture and look at it on like a small scale, think about like and how it negatively affects a music ecosystem, a local arts ecosystem would be okay. Like think about like these local concert promoters that will get local support on shows.
And they'll flyer the whole city.
Nobody fucking vets who the local band is. It's just like, oh, you said that you could sell this many tickets. You're on.
You're gonna bring 30 people.
And then like
weren't even gonna come
whether they bring 30 people or not doesn't fucking matter. And maybe that's good for the promoters if they can get, you know, fucking Uncle Sam and Paul Sue to fucking come out or whatever, you know. All their, you know, their meemaws and pawpaws and shit. Like that's fine.
They're coming from Wexford.
The issue is that for everybody that didn't buy a ticket from the local band that's just going to see a band that they know, that band is now a representation of the local music scene.
Right.
And if that band is dog shit, people are going to be like, oh, that's the best the city has to offer.
That's going to reverberate.
They must be pretty popular if they're on this thing. And then they suck. And it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to go to a local show. I'm not going to support this.
Totally. And you've seen since COVID how like the promoters nowadays, it's like, I don't know. It's like I love indie rock so much, and like BC before COVID, there was like Opus One was doing so well at bringing bands in here, and then since COVID, it's just like, I mean, Mr. Smalls was a haven for me, and like after I moved back from LA and was like, you know, seeing Beach House and all these great acts, and then like this was like, you know, when Stage E was around, but Smalls was bringing so many cool bands, and then since COVID, it's like. These promoters, it's like, how many bands are going Philly, DC, Cleveland, you know? And I just feel like the scene here, I'm not saying it's dying. The local scene is so good, but these touring acts are just like, their labels and these promoters are just, they're skipping here. And it makes me like super frustrated because I'm like, I'm getting a little tired of getting in my car and going to DC and going to Cleveland. Like, you know, for when we have these cool venues here.
Yeah, I think too, like, I mean, touring is getting very expensive.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Not that it hasn't ever been expensive. Right. But we're in a situation now where, like, you see a lot of, like, there's not many people that are doing the whole fucking like 30-date thing anymore.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
30 dates in 35 days.
Yeah, it's like half that.
I agree.
So you get a lot of people that are just picking and choosing things, and also I think also the ecosystem for like mid to big scale stuff here, I really don't know how it operates, but I don't think it operates in a way where like a Philly or a New York City is, because like not only is that shit close to each other,
for sure,
but for a lot of touring bands, they don't actually have to fucking travel with anything because those cities and the venues are able to bring the stuff in.
Them. I agree.
And like, I don't think that can happen here as easily.
And it's mixed with like, you know, the bands that we've seen come to town this summer. It's just been like baby boomer central, and it's like, let's get them up from Mount Lebanon, let's get them down from, you know, like Route 8, and it's just like, I don't know, it's John Mellencamp, and I don't even know if he came to town this year, but it's like those kind of bands. It's like the bands from the 70s and 80s, you know, and it's just like people with some eclectic taste at all. It's like, you got to get in your car and drive. You know?
I mean,
it's just like,
we're also like, this summer was definitely the past couple of years, but this summer has like definitely been like the festival. Like it's insane. There's little festivals for fucking everything. And like all of these festivals are put together by these people that have a lot of fucking money that are willing to pay these bands probably the amount of money they would make doing a whole fucking 15-day run to play this one show. But because they're getting contracted to play that, they're not allowed to play any shows before or after within a certain window of time.
And so many miles too.
Yeah. So like, they're just that makes like, sense. Fuck it. You know, like, I'll play this fucking thing. It's, you know, in Tennessee.
Right.
You know, we get $25,000.
Exactly.
And then, but we can't play any shows for months, but whatever. Who cares?
And it's like, what, gas is what? Almost $4 a gallon? Why drive like all this way?
They're fucking, you know, you're flying in.
Yeah.
All the gear's there.
It's just, you just sit, plug in and play. Yeah. And you're going to play in front of 10,000 people. And that's like, I love Miami, Florida so much. And it's like, it is a cool culture down there, but it's the live band scene is irrelevant because, like, I mean, the DJ community is huge there, which is great. I mean, granted, it's a little too, like, electronic for me, but you're not going to get bands going from Jacksonville, Florida, and drive 7 hours south into Miami. And that's, like, one thing that has never pushed me to move down there because, like, I love it, but it's also, like, yeah, it's not a thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that a lot of clubs too, and I've seen this just from like my day-to-day doing the DJ company stuff that I do, where a lot of rooms are just getting very comfortable with the DJ nights.
Right.
Because it's
a little more easier.
A lot of people that go see bands, like the all ages band shows, their bar sales aren't hitting the same as a DJ night. No. And like also they don't have to staff as much.
Exactly.
So those profits that they're getting from the bar are all going
to the business.
Yeah. And it's like you just make a fucking killing.
Yeah.
But it does.
And it's not as long as a night too, with like setting everything up.
Oh yeah. You don't have like people loading in at like 2 p.m. You know what I mean? A DJ showing up an hour before doors, plugging in 2 cables and like, let's go. And the place is fucking full and the bar's packed all night.
Yeah. And that's the thing I've been dealing with recently. It's like, like when our band goes on tour, it's like I have no problem getting to a venue at 6 p.m. and like setting everything up and then leaving for a couple hours. But recently it's like our show's in here in Pittsburgh. We have to load in at 5 o'clock and we play at 10. And I'm just like, what the fuck am I going to do with my time now? You know? And I mean, that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
But you know, DJ gigs, I can set up my turntables and mixer in 20 minutes and plug in XLRs and be like, okay, this is great. I can get there a half hour before. So it's just like, the time thing is just like, time is like all we got. So it's like, how much time are you pulling in to put out? You know, it's just like, I hate sitting at venues for like 3 hours. It drives me insane, you know? And it's like,
sure.
Yeah. It's a thing, but
yeah,
it's okay.
We did, Greywalker. We played 2 different fests this past weekend and they were like,
for Skullfest?
No, okay. We played, Upstage in Clearfield, PA.
Okay.
And then there was like a weird metal fest at Mr. Smalls that we played.
Cool.
But both of those days were like, get there at noon, we play at 8.
What the hell are you supposed to do? You gotta you want to party, but you have to pace yourself.
Sure.
You know, that's why I'll take my running shoes and just run around town because what else? I mean,
I'm not even fucking drinking anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not drinking anymore.
I'm like,
so what are you doing? You're just making sure
hey, you know, I'm on my laptop.
Heck yeah, you're doing
podcasts.
You're working, which is cool because you have to. If not, what the hell are you gonna do? And I'm a big proponent of not eating a lot before I play to eat light so I have energy. And it's you're hungry, but it's oh, it's 7 o'clock. I play in 3 hours. It's what the fuck? It's God. That's just how it is. I think, Brian. Is what there's nothing we can do about it. Honestly,
sure.
I've just I've eaten that pill. I'm just accepted it, but it is just God damn it, you know. If I was in Kansas City, different story, you know, because we can roam around town, go see some bars and restaurants we've never been to. But it's here, it's just will that ever change? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean that's just part of it.
That's a part of it, exactly.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing too. Why I have so much respect and empathy if I'm ever in the position of promoting a show. I have to understand that I am literally asking you know, if you have 3 or 4 bands playing, I'm asking 20 adults.
Yeah.
To all give me hours of their time to make this thing happen.
For sure.
It's chaos.
It is chaos.
It's an insane thing to ask.
There's so many variables for it to go wrong, you know? And I've seen it, you know, bands are 2 hours late to their sound check. And then they get there and sure, they have remorse for being late, but then they get pissy when they can't get a sound check. It's just a line check. It's sorry. It's not that I'm not trying to help you, but it's this is what you are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I've definitely I find that okay, I don't care what kind of music you play. I don't care how involved your setup is. You need to get good at just setting up, turning it up,
exactly,
and just fucking playing and just letting it happen.
Yep.
You know, it might not be perfect, but you just have to let it happen.
I agree.
You know, it's so many times I've seen these bands do these just really extended sound checks for what the fuck do you think is gonna happen tonight? You know what I mean? We're in a basement of some bar in Youngstown, Ohio. Why the fuck are we
20 people?
Yeah.
I feel you should be able. The only thing I ask is, can you hear? Are the monitors working? You can hear everybody. That's my only qualm with not even a qualm, but it's just can the sound guy get you to hear everybody, and then take it from there. It's just then you play your show. You play your set.
Yeah. My big hack, you know, in terms of whenever you're going onto a stage and setting up, I always will be hey, sound person.
Yeah.
Turn everything down in the monitors.
Yeah.
We're not doing this what the last band had and you're leaving it.
Right.
Turn it all down and we're gonna go one by one what we need for us.
That's perfect.
That's it.
That's it. It's so simple. But is it to other people? No, for some reason.
Well, I mean, it's hard because again, much like the DJ situation, every show is going to be different. You don't know what the capabilities of the venue are. You don't know what the capabilities of the engineer are.
You don't know what these bands' instruments are playing. You know, what instruments are they bringing in? You know, if a Korg synthesizer, I mean, those levels can be way higher and they can't hear much, you know? It's just it's all individual. But I think that's the move. It's work your way down to up when it comes to your set.
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
And the other thing too is just this whole loudness war between band members on a stage where it's just start at a comparable volume.
Yeah.
Most of the time, if something is if you can't hear yourself, the solution isn't for you to turn up.
No.
It's for somebody else to turn down.
And then you want it to be you want it to all just kind of blend together.
And then you get into that situation that's I'm playing with heavy metal guitar players, it's just
thrashing.
Everything gets, it's then there's only so much that the venue can do in terms of there is a microphone on the kick drum and snare, but you have this fucking big fucking guitar cabinet pushing 1 million decibels of volume out. So it's
chill out, dude.
We gotta just
bring it down, tone it down,
bring everything down.
I know.
And then especially if you're in a situation where people are putting microphones on stuff.
Yeah.
But, in a hard rock community, there's that whole the volume needs to be at a certain thing for the tubes to get stimulated so it fucking does the thing.
It's can you hear it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Brian, you mind if I go pee?
You can actually go pee. You could definitely do that. We could actually
in the corner.
So
down here, maybe.
Actually, I think we're we're over an hour.
We're over an hour. Did we do that already?
Yeah.
Which camera is it? That one.
Yeah.
It's that one.
So we're in the center there.
Yeah,
but,
we are.
That's you
That's
right
me
there.
there. Hey, Mom.
Yeah. I was just thinking. I was like catching. I was like, okay, we're starting to go off the rails a bit. But
kill it. Yeah.
Hey, you know what?
We're peaking.
We're rambling. It's a podcast. But yeah. Hey, you know what? We hit our hour.
We hit our hour in my bladder.
And so
it's good.
Listen,
Brian, thank
Dini
you.
Daddy has to.
It's awesome,
has to
man.
take a tinkle.
Exactly.
This conversation will be continued.
Yeah, it's good, man.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Well,
this is great.
It's
so professional looking.
Hey, I'm trying my best.
I feel like I'm on what's that Sports Center? I don't know. I feel like we could talk sports on this.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers are gonna suck.
Okay, yeah.
No, I don't know sports very well.
Yeah.
I could hang at a bar and people would be like, "Wow, really?" I played sports in high school, but then I was like, I almost went to college to play football, and then I ate some mushrooms that summer after I graduated, and I was like, "There's a lot more to life than this," I was like, "Okay, I like my kneecaps where they are."
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, with all that being said, we're done. That is all, folks. I'll see you next time. I'm not going to do my normal outro because who cares? There'll be a podcast some other time.
Sunday.
Here,
Brian does a great job, doesn't he? Everybody.
Oh, thank you.
We're proud.
Actually, I'm gonna show Michael where the restroom is, and then I'll come back and do my outro.
Okay.
And that is all, folks. Thanks so much for being here. I will be back again next week with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Brian Sykes Howe. Start the Beat is the show. 2024 is the year. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you. Peace.